it was like, hey, we need to go and look at what's going on in the press, how it's going to get printed. You need to be at this airport at 5 a.m. and roll up to the airport and get in a private jet and fly across the lake. Yeah, we do all the flavor extensions for Modelo Chelada, which is really fun. I flew from Bogota to Medellin, and then from Medellin, I flew on like this little twin-engine propeller plane into like this sugarcane factory, which was in the middle of nowhere. We landed on sugarcane, and then we went and toured the candy factory that we were talking about selling this product to. It was really fun.
What was the product? Welcome to Innovation Illuminated, a podcast where guest entrepreneurs and experts in their field of business share their experiences and knowledge learned through their journey in the business world. I am your host, Hunter Pirak, and similar to these guests, I am also an entrepreneur. Today, I am joined by Bill Bachman, the founder and principal of Bachman Brand Development. As a brand development agency, they get to work on package design for companies like Modelo Beer, Briggs Straton, Mueller Braces. They've done package work for all these brands, and it's super cool that Bill and I talk about how he could go into a convenience store anywhere in the world and see a package that he helped design or his team designed. He could go anywhere in the world and see a Modelo Beer package that he designed, which is so cool, and to see that you have a little touch on something that's everywhere in the world. Through the podcast, we discuss his journey as he started out at an ad agency and then eventually branched off into doing his own thing with Bachman Brand Development and being more so a brand development agency. We also walk through the inner workings of a brand development agency and how he's grown into starting with just himself, onboarding his first employee, and now having a team of 12 people. Please subscribe to us on Spotify and YouTube, as that's a great way to support the podcast. And please leave a comment on YouTube as who you'd like me to interview and what you're curious to learn from them. I will be reading all the comments. I hope you enjoy this one, and thanks for tuning in to Innovation Illuminated. All right, and we'll start the conversation with, I want to know a little bit about your background, growing up, jobs that you had.
Sure. Yeah, so my dad was in construction, so I worked a lot of construction.
Okay.
Mechanical contracting stuff, so it was hard work, outdoor
manual labor
stuff. You really learned how to work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was from when I was about 13 until 17.
Okay.
Until I went away for school, and I did it a couple more summers after that. So, yeah.
And did he have his own business?
He did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What did they specialize in? Commercial, residential?
He did hospitals and sewer lines.
Okay.
So, we also did I remember we did the Bradley Center parking lot, and we were doing some pipe work in there, and got to lift really, really heavy pipes that I didn't think I'd be able to lift. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
What are some other funny experiences that you had at that job? Are crazy.
One of the funniest ones is I went and I was delivering some parts or product to the job site, and the guys that were on the job, I didn't know who they were. They didn't know who I was, and they were sitting around and they were, talking about how horrible their boss was and what a jag he was, and I just sat there and listened for a little while.
Yeah.
While they're, basically slagging off my dad.
Your dad, yeah.
And so at that point, I just said, hey, guess who I am? And they're like, you're probably his nephew or something like that. And I said, no, it's better. I'm his son. Now help me get this shit off the truck.
Yeah.
So,
oh, gosh. That's hilarious. Did you have a bunch of things that you learned that I feel like you might have incorporated into this business, like work ethic and stuff that you learned from the construction job?
Yeah, really work ethic and following through with what you say you're going to do.
Okay.
And, being, following up with people is really the biggest thing, and making sure that they have what they need in order to, do their jobs, but also that you're following up with your clients and they're getting what they need to do their job. So that was a big part.
Gotcha. So after working that, you said you worked at 17. Did you go to college then?
I did. I went to school in Colorado. Yep.
What'd you go for?
Business administration, and then I had a graphic design minor.
Okay.
So,
were you always into graphic design and brand development type of thing?
I liked artwork, but I did start, I started in school And I, continued my art career from high school into college and, kind of like pushed it towards graphic design. So I had a lot of really good graphic design teachers, if you will, in college. So that was cool.
Gotcha. So following college, was that your business venture right out of college, or did you get a job right out of college?
No, the cool part, I got a job in college, which led me to my job after school. So I was on the ski team at school for 2 years, and it was really hard. It was just a grind. I mean, we skied 120 days a year.
Snow skiing.
Okay. Yeah, alpine ski racing.
Yeah.
One day I was skiing, and actually backing up, I went to see this lecture of this guy that was in advertising, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. He was a really dynamic speaker and just really interesting topic, and I was like, that sounds like something I'd be interested in. I really liked what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, I actually saw that guy on the mountain, and he was skiing by himself, and I was skiing with another guy, and I said, hey, why don't you come and ski with us? So the three of us skied together, and we ripped up the mountain, Crested Butte. We ripped it up all day and had a really good time skiing together. And then towards the end of the day, he's like, hey, you should be on my ski team. Because I was kind of telling him I was done with the college ski team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your ski team? What is that? What do you mean your ski team? He's like, yeah, I run the Coca-Cola Cup, which is a traveling public sort of NASCAR-style race in Colorado. And so we go to a different resort every weekend and put on this race. And, we need people that know how to ski, know how to set up race courses, and then can be the rabbits for the skiers. So you set the course, you set up all the promotional materials and everything, and then we go out and do the race. And our time is what the public has to beat, or they get close to it. The closer they get to it, the higher their medal is.
Okay.
So if you get really close to us or beat us, you get a gold medal.
Gotcha. So it's like a public event.
Yeah, it's a public event. Yeah, anybody can join, and we basically just handed out pins and, set the race courses. We had like a groupie following. It was pretty fun. So, like my job in college was getting paid to go skiing at different resorts every weekend.
Wow, what a job.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, that is sick.
It was really fun.
And he also did advertising too, that guy?
Yeah, he had an ad agency in Denver. And so I already had a job basically, halfway through my senior year at his agency in Denver. So I went from Gunnison, where I went to school at Western State College, and then I moved to Denver and immediately worked for his agency for 3 years.
Gotcha.
Out of school. And I learned a lot about the agency world and about graphic design and, the pressures that are foisted upon, people in the ad business. So
yeah. Are different like ad agencies, do they all like have like a specific like niche market that they kind of target?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. There's a lot of different types of ad agencies. We're not an ad agency, but I've been around and seen a lot of ad agencies. But yeah, usually you're focused on business to business or agriculture or consumer products. That's kind of the differences between the ad agencies that are out there.
Okay. What'd you do at this guy's agency then?
So I worked on consumer products and consumer promotions. I worked on Quaker Oats, Coca-Cola. He was like a former Coca-Cola executive, so he had a lot of Coca-Cola business.
Okay.
So I worked on Coca-Cola, Quaker Oats, and then I worked on Ski the Summit.
Okay.
And so we did a lot of advertising and stuff for them.
Like content creation, or more so like paid ads and stuff like that?
Well, it's all paid ads. Like
right.
there's no such thing as social media when I was out of school. So
yeah, right, organic stuff, yeah.
Right, that didn't exist. So it was paid advertising, on-site promotional materials for the different areas that were part of Ski the Summit. It wasn't nearly as big as it is now, and Ski the Summit doesn't even exist anymore. But
right.
It was basically like 3 or 4 mountains. So it was like Copper, Breckenridge, and a couple other ones that were part of Ski the Summit. I think A Basin was one of them.
Okay.
So
how big was that company that he was running?
We had about there was probably about 14 or 15 people. Yep, it was a lot of fun. It was really fun.
And how many years did you work there for?
I worked for 3 years. I worked there for 3 years.
And you learned a lot from it, obviously. Yeah,
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
You learn a lot from people that have been in the business for a long time, and they're obviously super smart people. So there were a lot of really good people there that I was able to learn a ton from.
Yeah,
so, yeah, it was cool.
That's funny you bring that up, that you like met him on the ski hill. Like it was just an opportunity that like presented itself out of nowhere. Like you didn't give a resume. It was just like all of a sudden you met him and the job came up.
Yeah, that's right.
Huh.
That's right. That's kind of why it's like you have to always be looking for opportunities. You can't be like shut down, and talking to people is one way to, figure out what's out there for people.
Right.
Is being able to talk to people is a really important skill.
Totally. So you worked there for a couple of years. Did you immediately after that, what did you do? Start this business or something
No,
else?
immediately after that, I spent a year in South America, in Bogota.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you do there?
Well, I taught English as a second language, and then I also was working on selling in a brand that I had worked with at my previous agency in Denver. We were trying to launch a brand, and I was able to sell it into a company there. And it didn't really go anywhere, but there was some cool opportunities that came out of it. I got to go to some pretty wild places. I flew from Bogota to Medellin, and then from Medellin, I flew on like this little twin engine propeller plane into like this sugarcane factory, which was in the middle of nowhere, in between these huge mountains, and just like miles and miles of sugarcane that you could see. We landed on sugarcane, and then we went and toured the candy factory that we were talking about selling this product to. It was really fun.
What was the product?
It was an iced tea brand. It's called California Splash.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, what an interesting experience.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Was it super eye-opening, like that whole journey or opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, like business is business around the world. It's kind of the same. It's the same thing, and the people are the same, just speak different languages.
Okay.
So it was cool. It was really eye-opening to just sort of like do business like that in other places, and how big some of the businesses are. Like this candy place was enormous.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's global candy company, so.
It was just like a huge warehouse in the middle of nowhere. Like, was it there more so the fields and stuff where they produce it?
It was like basically right in the middle of sugarcane fields that you could see for miles.
Really?
Yeah, this massive factory.
And what were they making? Just
candy.
Candy?
Like squishy candies and like hard candies and stuff. And I mean, it was a huge factory, tons of people working there. It was pretty interesting.
And where is that in South America?
That was south of Medellin. I don't even know if there was a town around it. There probably was, but it was straight south of Medellin. We took a twin engine plane to get to it.
Oh, that's insane, dude.
So a little, it's like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, this
maybe
is
a little bit of risk flying, in Colombia and flying around in a twin engine plane into sugarcane fields. So yeah, it was a cool experience.
We did a fishing trip like 2 summers ago, and we flew in, I think it was a single engine. It was just one of those prop planes and stuff. And I was scared on that just to like land on a lake, because it was just so much different than like a commercial jet.
Oh yeah.
And you're landing in a sugarcane field, dude.
Yeah, basicay matted down sugarcane.
That's insane. So following that just fizzled out then?
Yeah, that I kind of, it didn't happen, the product didn't happen. Which was fine. It was a great learning experience. And then I came back to the Milwaukee area and worked for a PR firm as a graphic designer for, I would say, probably a year. And that was a great experience. But it was an experience in which I learned that I was a better account person than I was graphic designer. There's some really, really great graphic designers out there, and I wasn't one of them, but I know a lot about graphic design.
Yeah.
So after that, I went to another agency here in Milwaukee, and I worked there for 7 years. And then I spent a year at the biggest agency in Milwaukee, Kramer Crossholt. And then I started this place in 2004. So it'll be 20 years in April.
Okay. Wow.
Next month.
What made you want to branch off on your own?
Dissatisfaction of working for someone else.
Okay.
It's just sort of like when you work at a big agency, you have to stay in your lane. You do one thing and that's all you do.
Yeah.
That's really not who I am. I'm kind of like, okay, let's get this done. Let's figure out how we get it done. We can do that. We can do that. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. And they don't like that in big agencies because there's people to do all those things.
Yeah.
And so like when you get to a bigger shop like that, the entrepreneurship is sort of, there's not as much there.
Yeah, because it's just cookie cutter. Like they have their process. You do this. This person does this. You just have one thing that you're focused on, like all year long type of thing.
Right. Yeah. You have to plug into their process.
Yeah.
And I didn't really plug into the process. I'm better at working at small places. So.
Gotcha. So starting the company, was it just you that started it, or did you bring in people right away?
It was just me for the first 3 months. Yep. And then I brought in my first employee in the third month. And at that point, I started it in my house, in a spare bedroom in my house. And then when I brought on somebody, I took an office space in the 3rd Ward here in Milwaukee.
Okay.
This building, but a block north.
And did you have customers or clients right out of the gate?
We did. Yeah. So I had one client right out of the gate, which was a former client that came from my other agency that I worked at previous to the big agency.
Okay.
Or previous to the big agency. And so that's kind of a cool story. So when I was at Kramer Kressel, which is a big ad agency, not really what I do. One of my clients, longtime client that worked for me, or that I worked with on projects, called me and said, "Hey, Bill, we have this project. It's a long-term project. We'd like to hire you on it, but we already have an ad agency, so it's kind of a competition, a conflict of interest."
Yeah.
And so we can give you 10% of that project if you stay where you're at and help us out. If you go off on your own, we'll give you the entire project.
Oh.
And this is on a Friday, and they said, we just need to know by Monday.
Oh, gosh.
So it was kind of it was really not that hard of a decision because I had quite a bit of dissatisfaction where I was.
Yeah.
And so I basically called him up on Monday. I said, I'm in. And I left my job the next day. That was my last day, that Monday.
Yeah.
And then on Tuesday is when I incorporated my company, April 4th, 2004.
Wow. Was it a big account, that first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 10-year project that I worked on.
Oh, wow.
And they continue to be our largest client today.
Really? What was that first project that they wanted you to do?
I can't tell you what it is because it never launched.
Oh, gotcha.
But it was a consumer product that was used for carpeting.
Okay.
And it was an interesting idea, but we never got good traction on it. But we kept trying and trying and trying, and they kept dumping money into it. And so that was kind of how that one went.
So were you working on like packaging and stuff for it at first, or more so ads?
We worked on every aspect of it, how we would bring it to, how we would talk about it, the new product development part of it. So how we talk about it, how it works. While they're working on formulations for this product, we're working on how to talk about it and how how we might tell consumers the benefits and how it works.
Okay. Do a lot of like the really big companies, do they have that in-house where they'd have like a graphic designer or ads manager and stuff in-house?
It depends, like every company is different, but most big firms hire outside agencies.
Really?
Like
okay.
Pretty much every client that we have has multiple agencies
that they're working with
that work on their business and in different mediums. So like advertising is just one of multiple agencies or one of disciplines that they have agencies for.
Okay.
So
they might pick like a specific agency to do like this product development type of thing, and they might choose a different one for a different product.
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. There's new product development agencies. There's brand development agencies like us where we're talking about how to sell that product or how to talk about that product to consumers and how they might bring it to market, what it might look like. And then there are advertising agencies. There's also promotion agencies. Mm-hmm. So there's a thing called ATL and BTL. So there's above the line, which is advertising, the stuff that you see out there. And then BTL is all the stuff that you see, the promotional stuff that you see in store and ancillary support stuff. So big agencies on both sides of that ATL, BTL line. So,
okay.
So that's part of it. And then there's packaging agencies. So depending on who we're working with, we're a packaging agency primarily. And so we have a lot of experience in new product development. So people come to us for that, but primarily we do packaging graphics. And so there are, in every place that we've worked, there's multiple packaging agencies that that work on their products and work on their brands, because one agency it would be really hard for one agency to do all the work. I mean, some of the brands, there's like 17,000 products that one of our clients has. Yeah. I mean, that would be really hard for one agency to handle all that. They used to do it with one agency, but the the quality of work wasn't there, the creativity wasn't there. So they branch out and they use different people for different products.
How do they try, or how do you make sure like that it matches kind of with their like brand image? Do like they give you like I'm thinking of maybe like a specific product that somebody else is designing a package for this thing of their company, and then you have to design this one. How do you make sure that they kind of like both match up to look as like their brand image?
Right. So each brand when it's developed or when it's been around, or when it's, the existence of each brand, they have brand guidelines. And so everybody that would work on that brand has the brand guidelines. And then for each year that they do the work, there's also like strategic creative guidelines as well. So the campaign looks like this. The packaging needs to match that campaign if it's like a limited time offering or something like that. But if it's a legacy brand, there's a brand guidelines and we can tweak it. We work to, optimize it as we're going along. But yeah, there's usually a strict set of guidelines. And so people don't really understand that packaging changes like all the time. Like the packaging that you buy, it changes like almost every 6 months. You just would never notice it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that works.
So like the guidelines might be like a specific font that they use or colors and stuff.
Yep. Specific fonts, very specific colors.
Okay.
Usually most brands have a PMS color associated with their brand.
What's that mean?
It's a Pantone matching system.
Okay.
And so you have consistency of color across wherever your brand is printed or whatever product is printed out there. It's a very specific colorway that is used. So you have brand consistency across all the different products that are out there for a specific brand.
Gotcha. Okay. So what's kind of like the process of like a brand comes to you and they give you their vision and stuff? How do you incorporate it, kind of like work through like designing per se like a package?
Right. When we're approached by a client, usually, well, it just depends, but usually it starts with a brief. They either have a brief already developed, a creative brief, which is sort of the roadmap or the plan of what they want to communicate, what they want this to look like, what it's for, who it's for, what the demographics are, what the shape of the packaging or execution is. So we get all that in this design brief. And then then there's also sort of there's part of the brief that talks about, the personality and sort of like what we're trying to get through to consumers. And, do we want it to be more modern, or it just really depends on what the client is looking for. But then we use that brief. That's kind of our roadmap to develop multiple concepts. So we'll look at that brief and say, okay, here's 5 different ways to execute it, creative ways to execute it. And we do that on maybe 1 or 2 different packs that they have. And then we share that first round of concepts, if you will, graphic concepts with the client. And the client will say, yeah, I really like that one, or that one really fits what we're trying to achieve with this brief. And so that's what we work to do, is kind of like make sure that we're delivering on the brief, and each one of the specific points that they're trying to get across. There's also a thing called hierarchy on each package that we need, and we make sure that they provide. And if they don't provide it, we ask a lot of questions about the hierarchy. But it's really important for when you're looking at a product, you understand, number one, what the brand is, and then what the proposition, what the product is, and then what the proposition is, or what the brand proposition is. And so that's kind of the first thing that we work with, is that design brief that tells us what all that is. Okay. And so, for instance, in hierarchy, if you look at a product or a package, the brand is 9 times out of 10, or it should be, the biggest thing, the first thing that your eye sees.
Okay. So the hierarchy is kind of like of what when you look at the package, it's what your eyes kind of like visualize too.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's like the timeline of like a product? Like you said, like the brief, then how quick do samples turn around, or like the concepts?
Sure. So it generally we're like 2 to 3 weeks to get first round graphics to the client. We go probably anywhere from 2 months to 4 months when we're developing packaging for a product. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer, but that's kind of how it goes. And so when you're developing packaging, you start with approvals at the brand management level, the people that have brought you the product. or brought you the project, and then you move up to their bosses and they have to approve what it looks like, and then they move up to the next level that they approve what it looks like. And so all along the way, there's revisions and revisions and revisions to what it looks like to make sure that everyone that's on the approval chain has their input, and they basically touched it.
Right.
Sometimes that works out well. Sometimes it's like too many people are trying to tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And too many cooks in the kitchen on it. But generally, there are small tweaks once you get a little bit higher and higher.
Right. Yeah. So it's like a hierarchy of like you have to bring it to this person, then that person, then that person. They all have to approve it, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Are a lot of them like creative freedom on the products or projects that you do?
Yeah, I mean, there's parameters around everything.
Right, like we talked about.
Yeah, you have to have parameters because it can't just be willy-nilly, because then it goes away from what the brand is.
Right.
If it doesn't look like a brand that you're used to seeing, you're not going to buy it. So we need to make sure, first and foremost, that it is, oh, that's recognizable as the brand I'm used to buying. And then the next level is, oh, and I really like the graphics that they've done for, the temporary graphics or whatever, or the LTO graphics, limited time offering stuff.
Gotcha. Do some companies, I was just thinking, like, do some companies maybe reach out to a couple different agencies, and then like that first round where you show it to that first person, then they choose between the two?
Yeah, happens all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, they choose between the two agencies, or if they have confidence and you've worked with them plenty of times, they just give you the project. That's the ideal, but we also have gone through that before, where it's like, okay, first round, you get a first shot at this, and whoever's packaging comes out on top, that's the direction we're going to go.
Do you still get paid for that though?
You still get paid for
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Good. I was gonna say, yeah, that would stink if you
Yeah.
didn't get paid for it.
Yeah, at this level, we're not doing work for free. If you can't afford to do a concept, and if you want to test against another, you want to put two agencies against each other, yeah, you pay for it. Because it's, that's what we do. It's certainly, we get paid by everybody, and we work with big companies, and so, they generally pay for it.
Right.
Generally, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you target clients and like find clients? Because it's not just like people in the Milwaukee area or companies in the Milwaukee area. It's all over the place.
Right. So I've been in this business for a long time. My business is 20 years old, and before that, I was still in the same business and knew the same people. And so primarily, our business is organic growth. So we work with brand managers or associate brand managers right when they come out of school, and they get really comfortable with us because we deliver on all the things that we say that we're going to deliver on. We do really good work, and we also teach them along the way. So as they're advancing in their career, they're either staying at one company, but most of the time they're moving to different companies. And so when they move to a different company, they bring us along with them, which is pretty cool. So all of our not all of our clients, but many of our clients have been clients before at previous clients.
The brand manager.
Yeah,
person.
brand managers.
Yeah.
It's mostly brand management people that we work with. Yeah.
Gotcha. So do you find them right out of college type of thing when they get a job?
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Like the person that they're replacing moves up, and then that person says, "Hey, work with this agency," and then they get to know us through that. So a lot of it is organic, and so that's sort of how it kind of like grows. But we also have a lead generation company that works for us.
Okay.
Where they go out and figure out the best way to contact people that might be potential clients. And then meetings are scheduled on my calendar. We do a meeting with them, and then we show them our portfolio of work. And then at that point, they say thanks or no thanks.
Gotcha. So could some of those people like not even have a project like ready yet, and they just want to like meet and greet type of thing, and then maybe a couple months down the road they'll be like, yeah, now we want to work with you?
Generally, that doesn't happen. Like like they have something in mind.
Okay.
When they approach us, they have something in mind. Now, I'd be certainly happy to do that, but usually, people only talk to agencies when they have something that they need.
Right.
And so, like, we get inquiries on our website today, too. I got a very nice inquiry today that said, hey, we're working on redoing our packaging. I'd like to set up some time to talk. I'm like, sounds great. We'll do it.
Really?
Yeah. So even like inbound, leads are nice.
Right.
They come along. So that says something about our SEO. So
Is there like certain companies that you'd like to work with, like a niche market of like, say like just products in like the hand soap business or something like that? Or is it kind of all over the place?
Well, the category is consumer packaged goods. So anything you see in the grocery store and convenience store, that is generally our niche of where we like to work.
Okay.
Because we're used to it. We know what the consumer is. We know who the consumer is. We're familiar with all the brands that are out there. And, a lot of the categories that we've worked on. So beverage, food, household cleaning, pest control, that sort of stuff those are all things that we've worked on. So
okay. So yeah, anything you find in like a grocery store or convenience store type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you stay up to date with like trends and stuff in the packaging world?
There's a lot of trade magazines that we subscribe to. We also do what's called a value-added email. So we put together an email that goes out once a month that we research and find what the trends are, how we can incorporate those trends into what we're doing to benefit our clients and potential clients that are out there. So, a lot of research that goes into all that.
Right. Yeah. What's a cool like experience or journey kind of that you had working with a client? That comes to mind.
Yeah, like there was a really I thought about this question. There was one when I was actually working for my first agency out of college. Had other cool experiences, but that one we as an ad agency, I was an account guy. I got to go on a direct store delivery truck, and we went around to all the convenience stores and we sold in this cooler and then the product that went along with the cooler, and it was just really cool to go and like talk to the people that were actually buying and stocking this product.
So it was like a campaign kind of thing where you were delivering the product?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was really cool. So that was a really fun one. And then we've had opportunities where we will go to a really cool Disney resort and we get 30, 40 people in a room and figure out, how we come up with new products for the company that we work for. So those are fun projects to work on as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, yeah, it was pretty cool. We did another project where it was for Roush Performance. They, it was just a really fun project to work on. I don't know if it was a cool experience or not, but it was really fun to work on. So they wanted to wrap a car for the EAA fly-in in Fond du Lac.
Okay.
That matched this World War II airplane fighter. Oh. And so we designed this, 2022 Mustang. That was that looked like a World War II fighter, and so we got to develop all kinds of cool concepts for that.
So you got to design the wrap for it.
We got to design the wrap for it. Yeah,
that's
So then they parked it next to the airplane, and it was kind of like they looked really cool together. So
do you go to those events and like check it out too, or have media people go there?
Yeah, we had media people at that one. They had media people there. But yeah, I try to go to as many events as I can. Our events are like the convenience store. So you walk into the convenience store, you see a lot of the product that we worked on there, or in the grocery store. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Or in the like Sam's Club or Costco is another place where you find a lot of the stuff that we worked on.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day because I talked with Scott last week and he was like showing me like wind chimes that he made or something like that. And I was like, that's so funny that like you made it. Now it's in your house and like somebody's gonna buy it. Like you can go to the store and look at like a bird bath that you made or whatever, which is so funny that like you made it. Now everybody gets to see it and you get to see it in a store too, which is like you didn't even know. It's like hearing your song on the radio type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally what it is. And it's like, we did that packaging. Yeah, it's like you can like when you see it in store, you're like, oh. Yeah, it looks great there, and you just don't even know how many revisions there were on that pack to get to where we were. So but it's fun to see. It's satisfying to see the stuff that you've worked on in retail and know that there's like, even when you travel, like if you go to, we're here in Wisconsin, but if I go to Utah or Colorado or somewhere else, or Florida, where it doesn't matter, you still see the same product that we did in the convenience stores there, and that's kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, really fun.
What's I want to go through kind of like a business metamorphosis. So you started with yourself for 3 months, and then you brought an employee in. Where did it go from there, and like what tasks did you start to delegate as you started to grow?
Yeah, so I would say that I was doing a lot of not a lot. I did a little bit of artwork when we started. So when it was me and one other person, I did some of the artwork, and some of the lifting on artwork, all the copywriting I was doing. And then as we grew and got more clients, I needed to back off of doing that to be more about like servicing the client, understanding what they wanted, what the needs are, and then doing more like oversight and approval, creative direction on all the stuff that we're working on. So that really is so that's the metamorphosis. And as we grew and got more into packaging, we had to hire more designers. So then I became more like, for me, it became about, HR and finding the right people to do the work that had the qualifications that we needed to have to compete with some of the bigger agencies in Chicago.
Right.
And so from there, as we continue to grow, we needed to have more of me or more account people that were servicing the clients. So we have, multiple account people that are bringing in the jobs, taking in the orders, and then dispersing them amongst the artists that are working on them, or they're artists that are actually doing it. So we have a lot of people who are they're account people and hybrid artists that are working on it. So they're doing some artwork, but they're also managing the business and doling it out to people that are there just to do artwork, or that are here just to do artwork.
Gotcha. Do you or did you ever outsource the artwork, or do you keep it all in-house?
We keep it all in-house because, and for a very specific reason. Number one, it helps us with the speed. So when you work with a freelancer, you're kind of at their whim. And generally freelancers work when they want to, or they're working at night or whatever. You just don't have as much control over the artwork at that point. And really then it's not as interactive of a process when you're working with a freelancer that's working at home or working off site.
Right.
You just can't go over to them and say, hey, what does it look like? What about this? What about this? It's really, it's not the model that I like to work with. A lot of people do. A lot of people have agencies that all they do is work with freelancers.
Right.
That's not our model. That's not what we're set up for, just because I like to be able to control what I'm seeing. And also I like to be able to provide the speed of service that our customers and our clients want and ask for. And so when there's a revision that comes in, I walk over to someone's desk and tell them about the revision, and they do it right away.
Right.
So that makes it a little bit easier to manage the business, if you will.
Super hands-on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can also have do you have the artists talk to the brands too, maybe, or say this is how we kind of work through the creative process and stuff like that?
Yeah, depending on the project, the artists are involved in the calls and kind of the feedback and what they hear and stuff. So it just depends on the project and what kind of project it is. But yeah, the artists are involved in everything, or every part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Are there any really memorable roadblocks that you had, or hard times through the business?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part is finding the right people. Finding the people that can do the work at the level that you want that's the hard part. And the other part, and this isn't, I don't think either one of these things are unique to my business. The other part is it's really stiff competition out there. There's people that are really good in this business. And we compete with them all the time. And, we have to sort of be able to differentiate ourselves. And so we can do that with the speed part of things. So speed and value that we're providing. So we're able to, to do the work that we do in a really at a quick pace, but also at a high level.
Right.
But we also know we're not the most expensive shop in town. We're not the cheapest either.
Right.
So it's kind of right in the middle there. But people come to rely on us because they know that we'll get it done and it'll be done right. And so that's kind of the things that we work on to make sure that we continue to do, so people continue to follow us and use us as a resource.
Right. Yeah, trust and loyalty to the customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
The main things.
Yeah, because they, like I said before, they either stay at their company or they go to other companies, and they always know that we can get the stuff done.
Right.
We picked up a big client a couple of years ago that I called, and I said, hey, we should work together. And he's like, okay, yeah, let's do a meeting next week. And So, okay, sounds good. And I put together a big presentation for him and stuff. I got on the phone. He told me about their needs and what where they were lacking and how we might be able to help. And I said, yeah, that's great. Well, let me show you that portfolio. He's like, I don't need to. I know what you guys do. I don't need to see your portfolio. I already know what you guys do. Let's figure out how we put this together. So shoot me a proposal on how you think it might work.
Oh, wow.
And so that is, one of our bigger clients that we've had now for, going on 3 years.
Yeah, that's the best. Then you don't have to prove yourself at all. They already know who you
great.
are.
Right, because we worked with that guy when he was an associate brand manager.
Really? And then he's at a different brand now?
Well, now he's a VP of marketing.
Ah.
So a lot of people get all the way, go way, way up in the organizations. And so they're the ones that are able to hire different agencies and new agencies and bring it in.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Huh.
Yeah.
Where do you find, like you said, that it's very difficult or a roadblock is like finding good people? How have you dealt with that or found the people that are right for the job?
Some of it's referrals. Some of it is me going out and finding people through Indeed or other, some of the other, resume services. So yeah, that's really, like anybody else would. We just go out and try and find them.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I'm able to tell within the first 5 minutes whether they would be successful working.
With talking to them or looking at their work?
Both.
Okay.
Usually talking to them. It depends. I ask some very specific questions about how they're working and where they've worked. And if they, can't clearly answer those, it's kind of like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But of course, looking at their portfolio too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty easy way to do it. So when you apply for a job here or apply or share your resume, like I always ask for a portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have a portfolio to back up what you're saying, it's kind of hard to hire you.
So to build a portfolio, do those people have to be like freelancers on their own beforehand, or would the portfolio be from like past work, like an internship or like a job doing that in the past?
Yeah, really all of the above. So a lot of people, depending on the age, a lot of people share their portfolio out of school. So you have art projects that you've done in college.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see those a lot if you're just a first or second year person out of school. And then as you move through your career, you obviously work on projects and work on brands, and then those brands are what show up in your own portfolio. And so that's kind of how we're able to judge based on the portfolio. Like there's people that we've hired very young right out of school, and they usually have a very specific and special skill that they're able to demonstrate they know how to do it on through their portfolio. So.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So like everybody in there right now is working on a specific project, or are they all working kind of together on a project?
It just depends on what project it is. So it's never the entire agency working on one project.
Okay.
We have like 11, I think there's 11 or 12 people that we have. Well, it's 11, 12 plus me.
Gotcha.
Including me. And so generally we're working in teams. So there's 2 people working on a project.
Okay.
So it just depends on which project it is. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 people working on a project, depending on the size of the project and depending on when it's due.
Okay.
And so if it's a big project that's due in 6 weeks, we can still have 2 people working on it. If it's a small or medium-sized project that's due on Tuesday, we'll put more people on it to get it done.
Okay.
To make sure that gets done or get the right ideas that are out there. So.
Gotcha. Was there ever times that you didn't have like enough projects for employees to work on, or vice versa, where you had too many projects and not enough employees to take them on?
Yeah, both of those happen all the time.
Okay.
Generally, we're like this time of year, it's just sort of like steady, not super busy, not super slow, a little bit slow, but not super slow. The rest of the year, I would say that goes for like 2 months. Mm-hmm. 10 months out of the year, we've got tons of work. And of those 10 months, I would say 3 or 4 of them are probably like, okay, we don't have enough people to do these.
Really?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Maybe not 3 or 4, but a couple months, usually it's hard. And that's kind of one of those tricky things, because it's not always like, if it were always way up there on like super high volume, it would be, we'd have to hire people to kind of bring the, bring the level of service in line with how much work we're getting. But it really is sort of like it's a bouncy line of
Right.
up, down, and up, down. Like, okay, we've got a big project. Now that could change anytime. If somebody calls us and says, hey, we've got this huge project, then we could be busy. But we have specific projects that we work on year in and year out. And so we kind of have a good idea when those projects will show up. So, summertime is a busy time for us during the summer.
Gotcha.
Like into September, October.
Do companies, like I was talking with Scott and he said like he's preparing for like Halloween 2024 right now. Is that what you're working with for a lot of people too, like that far in advance?
Yeah, that's usually done. So holiday of 24 was done last June or July.
Okay.
Yeah, so we finished holiday of 24.
Wow.
Last year, because they have to build out product. They have to, all the files, they have to manufacture everything. So I did a press approval for one of the projects that we work on. That was in, I think it was in, gosh, it was probably in September of last year. That was like, okay, all this product is approved and printed. Now it just needs to be put in the boxes. And so that again was for this year's holiday.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's well in advance. Yeah.
Are there ever times like where it's like last second, like trends change or something like that, and they don't like what they had decided on like last June for this upcoming winter, and then they come back to you and are like, we need to change it last minute?
Yeah, that happens a lot too, but it doesn't happen if it's a matter of them not making their deadlines for their products. It doesn't happen. It doesn't matter whether or not the trend changed or not if the product is out there and created. But that happens a lot. We'll finish a project, and the trend will change, or the forecast will change. The sales forecast will change, and then they'll just say, "Nope, we got to change it." Okay, when does that due? It's still the same time. Still next Friday. It's like, really? We took 3 months to do this before, and now we have to do all of it in a week.
Right.
And it's kind of like, yep. So that happens all the time.
So yeah, you're under the chopping block in a week then instead of the 3 months.
Yeah, or you think that everything's smooth sailing. They've approved all the concepts, and everything looks great. You've done all the work, all the different adaptations of it, and then some senior leader that has never seen it before looks at it and was like, oh, I don't like it, and then it just goes away.
Oh,
and you start over.
Yeah.
Like everyone else liked it. This guy didn't, depending on his rank, if you will. And they can wipe it off the table in one fell swoop. And we've had that happen before, too. We've had that happen about half an hour before. It wasn't our artwork, but we were setting up the presentation of it and the meeting and all the graphics to sell it into Walmart, actually. And it looked beautiful. It was amazing work. And the CMO came in and said, I don't like it. Get it out of here.
What?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it was a ton of, millions of dollars worth of work. She just said, I don't like it. We're going back to what we were. Get that done. Okay. So we put all the old stuff up and just ran it again.
Really? Yeah. Huh. So the budget changes drastically then? Or would it just stay the same and they just didn't use the work that you guys did?
They just didn't use the work.
Huh.
Yep.
So like these companies, like I was just thinking that you said like they change like every 6 months kind of thing. So that's where you can kind of predict the work. Like say like a company changes, is that constant that they change every 6 months like automatically, or is it kind of here and there?
No, it's here and there, but it's pretty consistent. Like, so we are a project shop. We're not a retainer shop. And so we are, it's based on, what we know. So forecasting is a little bit difficult for us. But generally we know that there's churn on all these products that are out there. So, and they also have we know that there's, like a spring version, there's a holiday version. So those, we know when those show up. And then we do a lot of creative work for meeting, high-end meetings and stuff. And we know when those meetings are. And so then we can predict what that, what that might be, because we've worked on the meetings for many years before that.
Gotcha. How do you plan out and stay organized for like the upcoming meetings, and then say the seasonal stuff, like they just start coming to you and you already have 11 projects lined up kind of thing? Is it tricky?
Yeah, it's challenging. But we have a very good way of organizing and sort of, dividing out the projects. And so we've been able to do that really well. I think that's one of the things that we do well, is organizing and being able to put the right people on the right projects. We shuffle things around when that happens. But there was a time this summer basically where we're like, okay, if we get one more project, we don't have enough people. And so at that point, what we say is, what is your timeline? And can it be pushed back a little bit so we can work on it? And the client was like, oh yeah, we could give you another month if that helps. And I was like, that helped tremendously.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when we get started on it.
Okay.
So stuff like that happens, pretty often.
Gotcha. So is it a pretty like cyclical cycle of this is like the 2 months that are downtime and then summer's always hot?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it takes away from surfing.
Yeah, that's the only. I wish it was this time of year that we were super busy.
Right.
It'd be much easier, and then have summer where it's a little bit more relaxed.
Right. Yeah. Because what are we gonna do in this crap right now?
Yeah. This is nothing. This is not worth anything.
Yeah. We don't even have like good snow up to ski or anything. It stinks.
Right. And the ice is bad. So
yeah, and nothing is good. And then summer, it's like perfect, and then you're busy.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Interesting.
That's how it goes.
Huh.
Yep.
Well, let's get into these. I got these 5 questions here that kind of do this where like they're kind of speed questions. So we'll do like a minute each. Okay. So we'll start with, what was your dream job when you were a kid?
Oh boy, I think I wanted to be in real estate, like real estate development.
Really?
I didn't really know what it was, but we had one of my friends' dads was in real estate, and I was like, that looks cool. I want to be in real estate.
Huh. So that's what you just because you saw other
just because I saw somebody like somebody that was doing well and it looked cool, and it was like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. I'll do that.
Huh.
Never got into real estate.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite brand project that you worked on or like coolest maybe?
Yeah, we do all the flavor extensions for Modelo Chelada, which is really fun.
Huh.
Yeah, so we get to really work on different ways of expressing mangoes and strawberries and watermelons and stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, very interesting. What's the favorite place that you traveled to?
I was just recently in Cartagena, Colombia. I mean, there's a theme there, Colombia. But yeah, it was really awesome.
Did you go back and visit where you were?
No, I didn't. I had been there before, but I went there for this, like week-long sort of like party extravaganza.
Oh, really?
Super fun. It was great. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And it was fun to be there because I have some Spanish in my repertoire. Not a ton, not perfect, but it's fun to go back to a country that I've, spent a lot of time in.
Right. Yeah. Oh, totally. That's awesome. What's a cool experience that you've had working with a client? I know we already asked this, but like, what's another one maybe that would come to mind?
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of work on a specific brand in which it was like, hey, we need to go and look at what's going on in the press, how it's going to get printed. You need to be at this airport at 5 a.m. and roll up to the airport and get in the private jet and fly across the lake.
Really?
Yeah. It was really fun.
Holy crap. So you had to get over there like right away?
Yep.
Just you or your team too?
It was me and the brand team that was going.
Okay.
So then we flew back and I got to sit in the jump seat. So I was sitting in like the front seat watching the, flying in over Lake Michigan and landing at Baton Field and Racine. And, you're on a really awesome private jet.
No way. That's insane. I've always wanted to fly private. I never have.
It's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
It's really cool.
Scott was telling me too.
Yeah. Then we had a meeting, we were meeting on the plane because Scott, it was a big plane, like a conference table and stuff.
No way.
So we're sitting at the conference table and they were dragging the plane into the hangar.
What?
Yeah. And then, you see all the other cool planes in the hangar and stuff. So
yeah.
That was really cool.
How far was the flight?
It was like 40 minutes.
Okay.
It wasn't far.
That's crazy that people like fly that because I track my phone. Sometimes I see people like flying from Waukesha to like Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Like I feel like that's such an easy drive and people are flying private there.
Yeah, because the Packers are there.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Right. It's like probably like a 20-minute flight from Waukesha to Green Bay. Yeah. It's like nothing. Right. It's like, but people are paying it.
Oh, yeah.
Which is insane, but pretty sick. Yeah, I'd love to fly one. Scott was telling me about how he went to college on a private jet too, and that story was insane.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Final question.
Yeah.
If a young person was to come up to you and like ask for advice and maybe starting a business, like what would your entrepreneurial advice be for them?
Keep trying.
Okay.
Don't give up. You're going to fail. You're going to fail again and again and again. But just keep trying.
Yeah.
If you stop, then you end up working for someone else. And if you don't succeed, you can always go back and get a different job, but keep trying.
Right. For sure. Another question that comes to mind is, I saw this the other day. It's like, when's the right time to quit, and when's the right time to keep pushing like past the roadblock? What's your opinion on that? You know what I mean? Like, where you decide like, I don't want to do this anymore, versus to keep trying, and then you get over that hump of like your thought of I didn't want to do this anymore.
Well, I think that's a personal decision on everyone's part. Like some people, there is no quit. You don't stop. You don't stop until you succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of my thing. I stopped, and then I tried, and then I failed, and I went to work for somebody else, and I tried another thing, and I failed, and tried again, and and then kept going back and trying again in different ways. But don't be too static in your ideas. Like, okay, if you've got a good idea, and it's a good idea, continue to optimize that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad thing to work for other people, because you learn a lot from other people, while you're still doing your side thing in order to make it until you succeed at it. So,
right.
So yeah, continue to try, and don't let people tell you that it's impossible, because it's not.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap things up with the podcast, but that was fun. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah.